investing just for a moment. We're 8.5 years into this bull market. You've given us an idea where we think we are, and you've told us what some of the challenges are. When there is a correction, I mean, there's a correction every year. People don't realize, on average, since 1900, we have a correction. I remember last year in January was the worst January in history. Everybody's freaking out, and they all came to you at CNBC and said, "You're in Davos, and what do we do?" And you talk to them about what they can do. Calm down, don't overreact. Tell me how you came out. I don't want to go through it now because at the time it's in my book so people can read the chapters. But this whole idea of finding out how you can not know where the markets are going to go and yet still win. This idea of the all-weather that you came up with, and you adapted it for me to share. You're unbelievably generous with my readers and with anybody who picked it up. We call it the all seasons. It's not quite the same. But it's been right 85% of the time. You would have made money in the last 75 years. And when you lose, the most it's ever lost is 4% on that formula. How did you come up with it? What made you pursue that? And what would you say to people that are panicking the market's going to crash any moment and they've been sitting on the sidelines missing one of the greatest bull markets in history?
I'm going to give the brief answer, and then which is that diversification properly balancing means that you could take equally good things and you can reduce the risk. And because they're equally...
I just want to clarify, you said that the holy grail of investing you found early on, changed your career, and it was how you could reduce your risk but not reduce your returns. How did you do that?
By knowing how to balance, okay? When you can take equally good things,
yes,
they're equally good, so your expectation of return is equal,
yes,
right? But because they're uncorrelated,
yes,
because they move differently, they balance each other.
So one goes down, the other one bounces up. Right.
And I would love to get into it, but I'll just repeat, what you did is provide a great service. It's in your book.
Yes.
So anybody who reads that book has taken the time, and you've put it in a language that everybody can understand in a way that we won't have the time to go through now.
Yeah.
So it was great for me and great for you and great for those people,
yes,
that we could communicate how they could achieve that balance. It's so important because you have to understand that in order to beat somebody, the market's a zero sum.
Yeah.
And adding
wins,
value,
loses.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the consensus is reflected in the price.
Yeah.
And so you have to be better than that. I put hundreds of millions of dollars each year in trying to play that game well,
yeah,
and others do, and it's a difficult game. It's more difficult to compete in the markets and be successful than to compete in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So be humble about that. It's difficult.
Yes.
But to achieve that balance so that you understand how you can get that good return without losing a lot of money,
yeah,
is something. You've communicated it well, so I would, rather than be
yes,
able to cover it,
book, yeah,
recommend that they look at your book.
But your money is all your personal
Most
money
of my money is in that.
That's
right.
It's truly amazing. And people, you can go pick up a book or go to the library, whatever, and get the answer because you walked us through it. We did it in 2 chapters of the book, and it's mind-boggling. I mean, if you could go to Vegas and be right 85% of the time and make close to 10% on average, and when you're wrong, the most you ever lost is 4%, how often would you invest, right? Well, it's a different game, right?
Yeah, the risk of ruin,
yes,
is so diminished.
Yes.
It depends exactly how you construct that in
yes,
terms of what your risk and return is. So it's explained there. But the risk of ruin, like any one investment, there will come a time in your lifetime that it's going to be down 50 to 75%.
Yeah.
And when it's down 50 or 75%, if it's down 50%, that means you have to make 100% in order to get back.
Even, yeah.
So you can't afford those kinds
Especially if
of
it's later
things.
in life, you don't have the time, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So this is really the way to protect themselves. So many people get great returns, but then they also slash to the bottom. And one of your principles is not lose money.
These are good returns, yeah.
Yeah, these are great returns, but you're limiting the downside massively. What we're out of time now, so the last piece, is there anything we've covered you haven't been able to share? What's the core message you want people to leave with? Whether they're an entrepreneur or an investor or just somebody who wants to improve their life, what would you say that core message?
Well, most importantly, have their principles that deal with reality.
Yes.
Well, embrace reality and deal with it, and have those core principles and get them wherever they can. As you know, what I want to do is I want to get your principles. I listen to a lot, but if everybody took the time to write down their principles,
yes,
and to think about each other's principles for how to deal with specific things, not this big,
yeah,
high-level principles,
yeah,
but in other words,
pragmatic,
the specific okay, I have somebody who is cheating in my company. What do I do? Or I have the banker who is doing this thing. What
Yes.
do I do?
Or how do I recruit the best team? I mean, every recipe like that is here.
Well, I've been through those experiences, and I wrote down my recipes.
Yes.
They can consider my recipes. They can consider anybody else's recipes. At the end of the day, they must believe them, what is good for them, and they must have principles. Because, as you say, if you don't have principles, everything looks the same. Like you're in a blizzard.
Yeah.
When you start to think of something and you say, oh, it's another one of those, like you think of a certain type of species,
Yeah.
it's that species, and here is how I deal with that species, and that way of dealing with it works, that is an effective way of operating. So I would like to encourage people to have their own principles that they understand and believe in, wherever they get them.
And I spent my whole life basically pulling principles out of people. I wrote Money Master the Game, and I came to you. That's how I met you, was saying, I got to find the best people in the world. It can't be my ideas. I have my own ideas on the psychological and emotional side. But I want the best investors in the world. Let's figure out what the principles that are guiding them, and let's teach them to the average American. So that's really what we've done. You've been so generous, Ray. I consider you a dear friend now. I love you personally, and I hope people here not only get to see this unbelievable, historic figure here, but I want them to feel the man and your true passion and caring for people and the commitment that you have to leave a legacy where people can continue to grow and expand beyond the time that you're here. And this book is part of that legacy. You're going to write another one, I understand. Is that true?
On economic and investment principles.
Yes.
And then I'll be done.
Yes.
Because everything that I have to say can be in here.
It gives you leverage.
It's in there. I don't have anything to add.
Yes.
I hope my grandkids will read it when they get older.
I'm sure they will.
And Tony, I want to say that we share the same type of values, the same type of principles, and that's why, back at you, man. Thank you. Thank you very
pleasure,
much.
Brother. Thank you so much. God bless
you.
you. So pick it up, Principles, Life and Work by Ray Dalio. This week also check out on YouTube the machine, how do you say that? What's the phrase?
How the Economic Machine Works.
And then his TED Talk as well. And I'll put those out over the next few days as well. Pass it on to everybody. Go grab this book as quick as you can. It's a great read. It'll give you history. It'll give you principles. It'll change your life. Blessings to everybody. We'll see you soon.